Yes guys, welcome back to another video. Welcome to the George Benson Football Channel. Easy to forget that it's match day today. We feel as though the season is done because all the Chelsea news is rebuild Chelsea, who we sell in, who we sign in, and Mauricio Pochettino looks as though he's about to take over as Chelsea manager. But between all of that, there are still 7 games to go until the end of the season. And Chelsea versus Brentford, your GBFC preview today. We're going to try and angle this one and approach it as if it was Mauricio Pochettino has already taken over as manager. And what do I think Pochettino would do with this Chelsea team between now and the end of the season? Considering, when we look forward, the positives of the new manager appointment, whether it's Poch or anyone else, whoever comes in has got a full pre-season, there's going to have money to back them. There's also a ton of players in the squad where we can almost cherry pick who we want, who we don't want. What we should be doing between now and the end of the season is A, establish the attitude. And what I mean by that is we need to understand who really wants to go out there and impress the fans. When you look at the amount of tickets that are coming back that were initially sold for all of the games between now and the end of the season, it's alarming. And I think on the surface, this is one of the most embarrassing things about where Chelsea are at right now. The fans that go to every game can't even be bothered to go. And I'm not saying that as anything against the fans. It just simply shows Chelsea should be fighting for things. We're not fighting for things. So people would rather go and do something else on a Wednesday night. Sit at home and watch us try and get a draw on TV. Perhaps if you've got yourself a flipping Fire Stick or whatever it is. So at this point in time, I want to see Chelsea being progressive. I don't want to see players who haven't had many minutes, but we're just trying to please everybody because it doesn't really matter now. I want to see us look at the situation we're in. We're comfortably, I say comfortably, we're in 11th and it's hard for us to go up, right? So I'm not going to entertain these ideas that Chelsea might actually get relegated because even if we lose every single game, there are still so many teams beneath us that need to do very well in order for us to be relegated. So we'll save the hyperbole there for a little bit. But what I will say is if we were to draw a line under everything that's happened up until this point, between now and the end of the season, if Chelsea can go from 11th in the table into the top half of the table, then it's a success from this point on. We've got to accept that this season has been a failure. This season has been nowhere near the standards that Chelsea need to be setting and that we need to adhere to every single season. For Chelsea to not be competitive in any cup competition in the middle of April is criminal based off of what we have become accustomed to in the last 20 years of our history. So the team that I've gone with today, I've gone with a 4-3-3 formation, which is something that we often see Mauricio Pochettino using, and I've tried to go with a mixture of experience and youth. And bearing in mind that I do think there are some players who might get minutes between now and the end of the season who, quite frankly, I don't think should be. It's a tough one because if you do give players like Hakim Ziyech minutes between now and the end of the season, I was thinking of others there, maybe Aspi as well, but with Reece James now being out injured, it's going to be interesting because he's not going to be back for the rest of the season. Players like Ziyech who, when they come on, when they play, sometimes it looks like they've given up months ago. So you could play him into the shop window, but Ziyech's the example I give because there are clubs out there who do know what Ziyech can do. And there are clubs out there that Ziyech will fit into perfectly like a glove on your hand and improve them. And we're talking top clubs here, so I don't necessarily think it's that important for Chelsea to play players that really know they're not going to be there. So developing youngsters, bleeding them in, trialing things out is what I want to see, but we also need to be careful about this losing run. Chelsea have lost 4 in a row. Lampard's lost every match since he took over. Brentford are no joke. They're one of the teams this season that I would say in the same bracket as Brighton and Fulham who just keep on, in the minds of the people watching, overachieving. But at the same time, in the process of these 2 brilliant seasons that Brentford have had, what they have done is in the first season they've been so bold in the way that they approach the Premier League. They've got a great manager who's implemented a great style of football, but instead of changing it and drawing it back, which is what Norwich do when they get promoted, they storm and win the Championship, and then they hold back in the Premier League, or maybe the personnel's not good enough. But with Brentford, they've cultivated that approach. They've cultivated that identity, which not only has seen them done incredibly well in both seasons against the big boys, but they're also grinding out results against the other teams, fighting to try and get to what Chelsea need to be aspiring to now. We can't just, because we're not able to compete for Europe, we can't just be like, all right, 11th, 12th, 13th, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. That kind of attitude is what gets clubs relegated, because clubs get comfortable sitting around the 13th, 14th position, and then they go downhill. For Chelsea, we've got to respect the Premier League here. Every position that you finish in the Prem, every position higher is worth more money. And even if we're not talking about 100 million difference in the kind of money we spend on players, we've got to show respect to this competition and understand that even if we've got a full pre-season, full week of training next year because we're not in Europe, if Chelsea end up with another 5 defeats in the last 7 league games of this season, which is feasible if you look on paper at the fixtures, to change that mentality completely for next season, incredibly difficult. To start building blocks now is going to put us in better stead for that pre-season and for next season. So, without any further ado, I want us to go out and try and win this game. I've gone with Kepa in goal. I think at this point, Kepa, when you look across the whole season, very few players stand out in terms of consistent good performers. And Kepa's not been woeful. I said it in the goalkeeper rebuild video. I think both keepers should go. And for now, Kepa just keeps his place. I think it's a formality really between Kepa or Mendy. It's whatever at this point. Maybe Mendy deserves another shot between now and the end of the season. I've gone with Kepa today. Back four, Azpilicueta. Back in play. He's going to have a couple of games now because Reece James is out for the whole season with that hamstring injury reoccurring again. Azpi starts. It is just a goodbye, bow out for Azpi now. He's not trying to play his way into staying at Chelsea. I think we've seen it now for a couple of years. Azpilicueta isn't at that level, but bringing in experience, and that is exactly what Pochettino will do. He'll try and mould the experienced players in the club alongside those that are building blocks for the future. So the back line, Chilwell, Silva, Fofana, Azpi. This is a perfect blend, in my opinion. You've got the youthfulness of Wesley Fofana, the experience of Azpi, Thiago Silva, and then you've got Ben Chilwell, who on his day can be one of the best left backs or best left wing backs in the Premier League. So that's the back four we're going with. Moving in to a midfield three of Enzo Fernandez, playing as a defensive midfielder, Kante and Kane Chukwuemeka. Chukwuemeka, when he's come on this season, I think he's been very good. And I think Mauricio Pochettino will be looking at this Chelsea squad. We've heard that some of the pre-plans that he has, if he is indeed to take over at Chelsea. He wants to see youth players being developed. It was something he saw at Spurs. He was good at integrating both the youth and the experience. And I think this midfield epitomises everything that Chelsea could become and everything that we are now. You look at Enzo as a defensive midfielder. I said it in the midfielder rebuild video, which was the previous video here on the channel. I think Enzo could be so good as a number 8 for Chelsea if there is a proper number 6 who's happy to sit by himself or in a pivot behind him. N'Golo Kante has become such a more progressive forward-thinking player. So with Kante, I think this gives Chukwuemeka a bit of a free hit because you've got two very defensively capable midfielders in both Enzo and Kante, which enables Kane to be that more progressive, advanced playmaker 8 player. And I think between now and the end of the season, Lampard, as much as it won't simply be, Poch is on the phone, hello mate, do you mind just tweaking this and putting Lewis Hall in left defensive midfield for this game? All right, Frankie, cheers, bruv. It's not going to be quite like that between Pochettino and Lampard, but I think this is a massive point here that I'm about to make. The transition period into Pochettino's reign, or whoever this new manager is going to be, it's getting draining now. I think it's going to be Poch, so I'm just going to say Poch for the better of the video. The handover between Frank Lampard and Pochettino begins now. Frank Lampard needs to understand the role he has at this club is, yes, to improve results, to improve the mental state of the squad who have become accustomed to losing football matches, but also we need to do some early work here. It's like coursework in school, right? If you get more of it done in the early phases, you're not rushing right at the end to give something which could be average. It's exactly what I used to do in school. I used to do all of my coursework right at the end of it. But this is how Chelsea need to approach this. If we get a lot of the dirty work now of nailing who it is who's not going to be here, nailing who it is who doesn't fit with the plans, using players who will be part of the plans for the future. Do some of this now, and Pochettino's job becomes so much easier, and that handover process becomes so much more flexible and fluid. And I think that is a big role that Lampard has now. So, bearing in mind that we want to do a bit of this, and we also want to fix results immediately, I've gone with a semi-experience thinking with the front line as well. Noni Madueke will play a lot of football, I think, between now and the end of the season, even if Lampard wasn't even sticking him on the bench in previous games. Sterling, Felix, Mudryk is my front three in this Pochettino 4-3-3 ideology, visionary Chelsea idea. Havertz isn't available. Fofana, I think Chelsea need to get some kind of result here to end this losing run. So Fofana will be on the bench, but gambling within the starting 11, I think Lampard will be a bit more safe. So Raheem Sterling on the right, Joao Felix through the middle, and Mudryk on the left. Mudryk, I think, will start every match between now and the end of the season, unless he gets injured. With Sterling, we're just trying to get him some form, maybe to play him into the shop window, or is there a chance that we see the Raheem Sterling that we thought we bought? And Joao Felix, it is imperative that Chelsea get the decision to either sign him permanently or not, correct? And from what I've seen so far, you don't sign him. From what we know, so much quality there, potentially. Frank Lampard should play him between now and the end of the season. Let's see if we can get Felix to fit into this Chelsea team. And because he wants to be here, he loves it in London, he loves it at Chelsea, loves his teammates. If he can start clicking, then I think we've got a quality player on our hands. So, Pochettino, the news is Chelsea may look to extend Joao Felix's deal for another year loan. That is perfect, in my opinion, for Chelsea. Gives us more attacking options, gives us another season with a manager who supposedly is going to be here for a while to implement a way to get these attackers playing, clicking, and scoring. So, that's my Chelsea 11. Mixture of experience, players that really want to be here. Let's see how this one goes. My score prediction is Chelsea 1, Brentford 1. I don't think we'll lose, but I also don't see where a win comes, if I'm being realistic. Under Lampard, I've not seen any tactical progressions whatsoever. And I do think with Reece being out, I think we'll move to a back four again. I don't want to see players playing out of position. That is the biggest waste of time for Lampard right now, is playing players where they don't belong. Players that play out of position, waste of time. If it means four at the back, let's go for it. It looks more likely that we'll have a manager that will play four at the back in the future. So let's not just try and fit pieces together anymore. Let's go and play players where they should be playing and try and work something out. Let's aim for top half. Anyway, let me know your Chelsea 11s and score predictions in the comments down below. Come on, you Blues.